One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Well, everybody, I am live. I didn't expect to be live. I have my internet people coming over. I hope this thing stays true. I was relaxing, getting ready for today's show, the regular show at 5 o'clock on Fridays. And I'm sure by now you have heard the news. As of, I don't know, about 10 o'clock this morning, the Supreme Court in the 6-3 decision has struck down part of the tariffs. You might not hear that everywhere. You may hear people, hold on, let me just show you, as they're getting ready.
Bring my mic up. I'll give one more mic check. I'm going to give you guys one more mic check.
Mic check. Okay, we got you with your mic check.
5, 6,
7.
Yeah,
all right, so they're getting ready. That way I can see when he comes on, the same way as you guys can see when he comes on. So as of right now, the tariffs, part of the tariffs have been stricken down by the Supreme Court. Of course, everybody, panigans, black pillars, rhinos, including Mike Pence, everybody is heralding this as it struck down Trump and his illegal acts in the presidency and all that kind of crap. And we're seeing it all over. MSNBC is gleeful. I mean, they're actually happy that Trump was struck down. We're in a bad place in America. I mean, I'm not being over dramatic. These people hate Trump. They hate MAGA. They hate America. And they would rather people be broke. They would rather people be subjugated than have to, experience prosperity. Earlier I said I had posted, and I feel bad for people because they're not able to read the signs. And immediately this morning, right on cue, if you read the signs, what happened? Silver takes off. Silver is up like 6.5% right now. This stuff is easy to game if you understand the moves you have to make when it's time to make them. And I had said before, hold, just watch what happens. And then sure enough, they come out and they do that. And let me see what gold did. I think gold spiked as well. because people know the uncertainty right now. Yep, gold is up 2%. So everything is moving because people are having to make moves accordingly. As soon as 10:05 hit and we heard it, people were on the phone doing what they had to do to make sure that they were safe, protected, and that they could take the opportunity that exists now. So what moves does President Trump have? Well, the first and most obvious move that President Trump has available to him is that he could probably try to work with Congress to get some stuff passed. As you know, that's probably highly unlikely. It's not even going to happen. Even if they go ahead and nuke the filibuster finally, I still don't know if they would get 50 people to go along with helping America become prosperous. It's that bad. I don't know if they could get 50 so that J.D. Vance could come in and break the tie. Don't know. We don't know. It's uncharted territory. We have no idea what they are going to do. The second, more bombastic alternative, which may be something he's going to do, is shift all of the tariff mechanisms into another law. Third thing that he's probably going to talk about is the whole thing with refunds. You see, now everyone, especially Gavin Newsom, are like, you got to give everybody back their money. It's funny, you didn't give back the billions you stole. Now they're trying to push President Trump into giving back all that money, which would obviously crush the economy, which is what they want. The Democrats and the rhinos aren't your friends. You know, there's going to be a lot of people who make a lot of money today. Make no mistake about that. There are people who are going to profit hugely off of what happened this morning at 10 o'clock. They're giddy about it. They are giddy about the fact that now there's going to be some moves that they can make that can help them make money, but are going to kill the rest of the country. We are barreling towards socialism. We are barreling towards communism when people can actually root against prosperity. It's a shame. And it's funny, as you guys know, we were invited to the White House and we got to go to a media row type thing on Tuesday. And I can't even imagine what the conversation is going to be like. So I am going to post on Twitter and on a new website. I'd like you to provide us with some questions you'd like to ask these people. And I told Ashley, I've got a strategy going in. And my strategy is I am going to ask every single person the same 5 questions. And so I can get the answers and bring to you guys. 5 questions. Sir, come on over here. I got 5 questions for you. Here, number 1, who are you? What do you represent? Blah, blah, blah. All right. Number 2, and I'm going to give them 5 questions. And we're going to see who is going to answer those questions. So that's the strategy going in, is to get those 5 questions. And I want some from you as well as to, you know, what you want me to ask and what information you're hoping I can, you know, elicit from these people. And on Wednesday, after Tuesday, after the State of the Union, then we're going to be in the White House where they're going to be talking about things right after the State of the Union. So I find it interesting. So let me tell you what I think is about to happen. I think President Trump is going to set up the State of the Union address. I think he's going to make a few strong announcements, and those announcements are going to lead into the State of the Union. And what you're going to hear online are people complaining and saying he's, you know, misdirecting, he's deflecting from the Epstein files, which nobody gives a shit about right now, except the people who, you know, who keep complaining, who probably right now are probably closetly, you know, okay with this. But, you know, there's certain people you want to listen to, and it's not the panicants. People like Jonathan Turley. And Jonathan Turley say, there's more arrows in the quiver here. And like we say with all of these decisions, with everything that comes down, pump your brakes. Wait 24, 48 hours, see what happens. I have to believe, and I mean this with all sincerity in my heart, I have to believe with Stephen Miller and Kevin and Scott Bessent and his brain trust that they had a plan B, and Howard Lutnick. There has to have been a plan B. I think we're going to hear that plan B when he walks out there. Has to be. There is no way a man with his experience puts all his eggs in one basket. Even though the panicans and rhinos and stupid commies think there's only one basket, there is obviously one, two, or three more baskets. You see, what he does being a real estate developer, you always have to know what do you do if the city rules against you, and they tell you you're gonna need 100 more parking spaces, or you can't go that high, or you're gonna need more 2-bedroom units instead of just 3-bedroom units. You gotta have your game plan so it doesn't stop your project. I see people running around, people running around the room right now getting ready. And so the fact that he pivoted this morning, by the way, let me just tell you about this morning. I get the notifications off of Trump's schedule, and it says 9:30 today. He's going to go ahead and have a breakfast with the governors. I know I'm busy trying to get ready for Washington, and also I've got the internet people coming. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do it, so I'm just going to put it up as an unhosted stream. So if you see those from now on, they say unhosted. I won't be on camera. I might be in the chat with you guys, but I won't be on camera. So if you were here this morning at 9:30, you know what happened. Many of you probably don't. President Trump went on, they flipped on the cameras. He was on for about a minute and a half. And he told them, get out, cut the feed. That was it. Like everybody came together, we're going to watch this thing, boom, cut the feed. Personally, I think he had advance notice of what was coming with the Supreme Court and didn't want to have these people in the press screaming at him while he was having the breakfast with the governors. And so he pivoted very quickly to saying, I'm coming out at 12:45. And as of right now, he is 11 minutes behind schedule. And I just saw Caroline run by the. I got to leave that up so you guys can see all this activity because people are running back and forth. Hold on, let me just pull this up. And you're just seeing people running back and forth. It looks like they might be getting ready to come out because the cameraman is doing something on. Hey, well, you can see. I don't have to describe it. But he's trying to give signals and stuff back and forth. All right, so let you know what's going to happen with me. I'm going to do this show, then not a show, but we're going to cover what the president has to say. Then I'm going to shut it down. I will be back at 5 p.m. with a more extensive show with news and everything else. I'm sure he's going to break some news. What she's doing right now, just to let you know, she's holding up what's called a white balance card so that the camera that's focused from whatever network that is going to be taking place is trying to adjust their color so people don't turn out looking green or yellow or anything else like that. So she is getting white balance, in case anybody wondered what the heck she was doing. So let's take some stuff from you. Joseph says, I'm confident in Trump. Watch him pull, where'd that go? I'm confident in Trump. Watch him pull a rabbit out of his hat. Yep, I could see that happening. Yep, it's business when Trump comes out. This is not a drill. You're absolutely right. This is not a drill. And again, because they called this on somewhat of an immediate notice, nobody really knows, other than maybe Caroline Levitt and some people in his inner circle, what exactly he's gonna say. Judy says, I'm sure Trump is angry. Notice what we've been seeing in the way he talks. He seems very confident. I think he's got the right people around him who've got. I wouldn't be surprised when he walks out if Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick aren't with him, which they most assuredly would. Hey, SV. SV just sent me a story. Let me see what he's got here. I love that SV and Ashley can send me stuff. All right, so he says that Mario, a guy we follow on X, Mario Nawal, has sent options. So let's see what these options are. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Oh, wow, it's long. All right, thanks, SV. I'm going to keep an eye on this so we can look at this. All right, Supreme Court killed Trump's tariffs. The nuclear option is to ignore it. Here's what that means. I love the start of that. Friggin' ignore it. Go full Andrew Jackson. F you. We're not doing it. The court ruled 6-3. You know, we don't have, let me just stop there for a second. We don't have a 9-judge court. Let's just take that out because 3 of them will never, it seems like, vote with Trump. So we basically have a 6-judge panel. 6-3. It's always those 3. Sotomayor, Ketanji, I don't know what a woman Jackson is, and Kagan hate Trump, and they've got their marching orders. So they're always going to be negative towards Trump. The court ruled 6-3 that Trump can't use IEPA. You might want to look up what that is. Emergency powers law to impose tariffs. Up to $175 billion might need to be refunded to companies. Trump called it a disgrace and said he has a backup plan, which we are probably about to see. If you see my head bouncing around and stuff, because I'm making sure I don't miss this. Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act allows temporary, up to 15% tariffs for 150 days, limited and temporary. So that's about a little over 3 months. 5 months, rather. 5 months. Section 301, start new investigations into unfair trade practices, takes months, not immediate. Next one, ask Congress. Ain't gonna happen. Unlikely with slim Republican majority. GOP's already revolting on tariffs, as I mentioned to you about Mike Pence and others. Steel and aluminum tariffs stay. Those use different laws. Court did touch them. I want to make sure you guys know that. There are certain tariffs that the courts did not touch. The Supreme Court had nothing to say about the steel, platinum, and a few others. The nuclear option. Trump could try passing tariffs through budget reconciliation. The fast-track process that bypasses filibuster needs only 51 Senate votes. I don't know if he has those numbers. Rand Paul has already been tweeting all over the place how he's not supporting any more tariffs. Problem, his own party just voted to debate killing his tariffs. Good luck getting 51 votes. Ain't gonna happen. Bottom line, Trump's massive tariff regime just got destroyed. He can rebuild it slowly using other laws, but the swift and powerful version, it's gone. I'm not gonna agree with that. I'm not gonna agree with that it's gone. And I'll tell you why in a second. The Supreme Court, with 2 Trump appointees in the majority, just told him you can't do this. His response is a disgrace. I have other methods. In other words, he's scrambling. I don't believe that. I can't believe that because at this point, you're telling me that people like Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, some of the biggest minds in business and finance don't have a plan B here. Nope. Can't buy into that. None whatsoever. Are they okay with other countries imposing tariffs on us? Looks like it. It definitely looks that way. And so are many of the politicians. It's absurd at this point. But I guess we're going to find out. Rand Paul thinks he's president. Rand Paul, man, there are so many people right now who just want you. Because in essence, it hurts you mostly. It hurts people like you and I when they're acting this way. They want Trump gone. I know he's probably been, Rand, you'll never be the man, Rand. I'm pretty sure there's only one way to go here. And that was the first sentence of what he said. Ignore it. Just completely ignore it. You understand, if President Trump would ignore it, there's no guarantee that the Republicans wouldn't try to impeach him. There's no guarantee. Every single Democrat would vote to impeach him. And so we don't even know if there would be Republicans that would say, you know what, you're right. Massey, Rand Paul, and who knows? They could probably impeach him if he tries to ignore it. So the ignoring part has to come with another trigger. And I do mean trigger. The ignoring part of it is that we are at the point right now, we are with this, arguably we're at the brink. And there's no going back if he pulls that trigger. And that trigger meaning just goes full on Andrew Jackson. And I'm wondering how many of you would be ready for what would happen after that. The media would go ballistic, left and right. The politicians, the one thing they don't like is seeing their own power being usurped. It'd be helter-skelter at that point. But I sit back, and I'm not a student of, the Supreme Court and all these different things, but I don't see any other way for this country to be the country he wants it to be and the country we need it to be. And so it may come to, there's probably people holding him back right now. I'm sure he's talked to Pete and said, Pete, are you ready? Because this is horrible. He's trying to make the country strong and prosperous, and you are seeing in full vision, there are people who are trying to destroy America. There's no other excuse. I don't know if you saw today, I'm going to include it in tonight's show, but while you got Mondami up there trying to raise property taxes, the state of Florida just voted to eliminate property taxes on everybody. The whole state, not one city, the whole state. We're about to do away with property taxes. What do you think is going to happen in Florida when there are no more property taxes? Yeah, pretty much the same thing as gold and silver. I should be extremely happy. I should be like, do it. I don't care. Good. We're going to make so much money down here. We won't care. That's the truth. But my feeling is for the rest of the people across the country who don't have governors and politicians who are as strong as like Ron DeSantis in our legislature. Yesterday, everybody was complaining because some kid decided he was going to leave school with the rest of his buddies and protest and block traffic. He got summarily run over. That's how it is down here. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. And now we're about to see just some crazy stuff happening down here. Real estate's gonna, I can't even imagine. You think about people not being able to afford, think about the other side. Think about how many people, how many retirees, how many people who have lived in homes for 20, 25 years, who are going to see the value of those homes spike precipitously. People who bought their homes for $50,000 and $60,000, boomers, who are going to see their value of their properties go up by 20, 25% probably in a year. Cash out if you can afford to move anywhere. If not, then you just refi or just stay where you are. It's going to be amazing. And so I understand we live in a bubble down here. And it's weird looking at other areas of the country and how these other leaders, how they're treating the people that live there. Like, man, we are extremely blessed and lucky, but at the same time, we could lose it. We know at this point people are drooling at the fact of trying to take over Florida. This taking this state with this coastline, they would try to make it into California. What else you got? SV's got something else he wants me to take a look at. What you got here? All right, here we go with this one. Interesting. This is from Doge. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs misses the forest for the trees. The Liberation Day strategy wasn't about the legal technicalities. It was about forcing China to fold. That's a big thing. China, big adversary, which they did, slashing their tariffs from 125 to 10, while U.S. leverage held firm. Tariff revenue hit $500 billion annually, directly funding deficit reduction and tax relief instead of borrowing. Kavanaugh's dissent. Kavanaugh wrote a 63-page dissent. nails it. Tariffs are a legitimate tool to regulate importation, and the chaos was by design to reset terms. The real win, manufacturing orders are up 8%, 200 billion in export gains and reshoring momentum, all while globalists cried about the process, courts debate legality, we count jobs and revenue. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much a no-brainer in terms of what it means to us. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have any information as to what President Trump is going to do or how he's going to do it. Um, but I want you to hear this. This was something that was said a while ago. And if we have time to play it, he hasn't come out yet. I want you to hear this. This was Howard Lutnick, which is another reason why they were trying to attack him with the whole Epstein crap. But he talked about the tariffs and the plan B. Hold on, let me bring this in before President Trump comes up so you guys can hear this. 1 second. Hold on. Hold on. I'm moving this video in because I saw it earlier. I was going to include it on my 5 o'clock show. I may include it again depending on what President Trump does. All right, so I want you guys to hear this real quick.
Was at the Supreme Court to watch the discussion today and joins us now. Sir, good to have you back on. What did you see today? What do you think? How do you think they're leaning?
Well, I think they're leaning toward the president. So what happened is General Sauer, our Solicitor General, was out first, and the justices were tough. Let's say they were asking them tough questions. But when the other side got up, wow, it was very, very strong. And so I left very upbeat and very positive. And I think these justices are going to come down in favor of the president's powers because he's stopping the emergency of what's happened to trade against the United States of America. Everybody knows it. And some of those discussions were really, really interesting. And that's why it's fun to be on the show to sort of talk about exactly what some of these justices said.
You know, there was so much doom and gloom when you went down the tariff road. Everybody said this was going to be just so damning for the economy. The Atlanta Fed, and I think we have a graphic to show here, is indicating they think third quarter GDP is going to be at around 4%. That's a big number. That's a very healthy, robust number for the economy. Do you think that plays into the minds at all? If the Supreme Court's looking at this, if they saw an economy that was crashing, if they saw, indications that tariffs were really doing damage, I feel like that might impact their vote. They're not seeing that, though.
Of course, if the stock market was going, I mean, which way is the stock market going? Up, up, up. Which way is the economy going? 3.8 last quarter, estimates of 4.4% this quarter. I mean, the economy is on fire because of Donald Trump's economy is one that says tariffs, come on, build in America. The president's been saying north of $15 trillion coming to build in America. That's going to grow our economy more than 4%. It could grow our economy more than 5%. I mean, these are numbers no one's ever thought are possible for America, and it's driven by Donald Trump's trade and tariff agenda.
If this doesn't go your way, do you guys have workarounds to deal with this so that you don't lose, I think the foothold that you have with these tariffs? Are there ways to do this if the Supreme Court comes down on you the wrong way?
Sure. One of the things they talked about is Section 232, which was 9-0 at the Supreme Court. And that also is about tariffs. So there are plenty of tariff rules that the president has no matter what. But the answer is these judges are going to side with Donald Trump.
So obviously he was wrong. They did side with him. And he talked about Section 232. Now, I find it interesting that he talked about Section 232, and there's nothing in this entire tweet that Mario put out. And I haven't seen anybody else talk about Section 232. So, hey, SV, you may want to look up on Grok and say, what is Section 232? I can't believe he hung that out there and he told us what the alternative could possibly be, and nobody's talking about Section 232. I don't know why. Well, of course, I know why the media is not, because they don't want him to use Section 232, whatever that may be.
An example that Justice Kavanaugh said, imagine a meeting in the Oval Office where they have the power, because the other side agreed that the president has the power under this IEEPA rule. They admitted that he could just cut off trade to a country. So he says, can you imagine a meeting in the Oval Office where they say to Mr. President, you can cut off trade to this country?
Yeah.
And then the president's, well, that's too much. Let's do something less. And they say, no, Mr. President, you can't do less. You either have to, blow them up with trade and have a full embargo or nothing. It just doesn't make any sense. The concept is you can always use a weaker power to get weaker measures. That's very sensible. And that is what the judges are going to agree that if he.
All right, so I did a quick lookup of Section 232, and somebody that I really trust his information is Tony Saruga. Ashley's been trying to get him on the show, and Tony posted about Section 232. Understand the Trump administration was ready for this ruling and will be proactive in executing other arrows in the quiver. Hey, that's one of my phrases. Unaffected tariffs and key alternative authorities. Section 232, which Howard was just alluding to. Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, which obviously goes back before the IEEPA rule. These are intact and have been a cornerstone of Trump's approach. Examples include expanded duties on steel up to 50%, aluminum, automobile parts, ongoing or potential investigations into sectors like copper, lumber, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, trucks, and aircraft. The administration can reopen or expand these probes via the Department of Commerce. Oops, who runs the Department of Commerce, everybody? Come on. Howard Lutnick. Now, you know why the attack was going against him? As soon as I just saw that, and I'm like, wait a second. So it's going to fall back into Howard Lutnick. Okay. The event can, through the Department of Commerce, they require an investigation, typically up to 270 days. That would take us into 30 days in a month. That would be 9 months. Wow, right up to the election. And must tie into national security threats. So that's what Section 232. And then Tony goes into a lot of the stuff that Mario was talking about as well. But even Jonathan Turley said there's a lot of runway still for the administration. The administration has other tools in its toolbox that can actually impose tariffs under other statutes. And so I think since Howard talked about it, that's where they're going. Let's see when he comes out. Was that the plan B all along? Put this in Howard Lutnick's lap and go with Section 232. Howard Lutnick said this weeks ago. Probably months ago when they actually had the Supreme Court hearing. He thought they were going to win, but if they don't win, we could go Section 232. And basically, the Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, national security tariffs. So maybe that's what we're about to hear. Let's continue with Howard.
Can cut off trade. He surely can set a tariff.
He can set a tariff. All right, that's interesting. It'll be obviously a case to watch. We could get a pretty quick answer, is what they're indicating, because it's a very timely thing, a timely decision. It needs to be decided quickly. I have to ask you, because you're one of the most New York guys I know, and I know your story of obviously 9/11. You lost your company, you lost your brother. We've got a new mayor in New York, and some of the
he's going to talk about Mandami. All right. So anyway, that's what Howard Lutnick said some time ago. He said that the Section 232 was going to be what they would lean on as potentially Plan B. Will he be announcing that? Don't know. He called this for 12:45, and he is now 30 minutes late. So I am not sure what time he's gonna come up. Somebody says, absolutely lovely that they can impose the tariffs, but we just get it up to. Yep, love the way you said it. The Supreme Court is compromised, deep state design. I don't know what happened to Roberts. Roberts just completely turned bad for the country. Let's see here. It's ridiculous because whenever Joe Biden was doing all of his crap, he said in a rally, if SCOTUS denies it, we just completely ignore it. Remember, they gave him the authority to make people get fired if he didn't wear a face mask. We are in uncharted territory. 30% of the tariffs are already under 232. Trump has got this, just wait and see. So if 30% of the tariffs that currently exist, which nobody in the media was actually saying that. They're like, oh, the tariffs are done. No, as JT says, 30% already under Section 232. Let me just make sure the volume is up here so I can. Well, it's awful quiet. It's awful quiet in that press room. Awful quiet. I had the microphone up and nobody's saying anything. They're just sitting there. There's no way that President Trump, yeah, that's exactly what I feel. There's no way that President Trump and his brain dream team went into this first place without a backup plan. Nope. And just to let you know, those of you who have been in business or had a business, the backup plan against your adversaries is always worse for them than the front plan. The front plan is, hey, we're going to try this. I know you're not going to like it, but we're going to try this. The backup plan is, oh, okay, so you mess with me. Now I'm going to give you the backup plan. And the backup plan is usually much more forceful. So this, I can't wait. Hope he comes out. Hope he comes out soon and says what it is. This weakens us all around the world. Yep, because leaders are going to be talking. SCOTUS thinks they have the power. Have you noticed it seems like every single court feels that they are presidential, that they overrule what the president can do? See, the idea behind, and they actually quoted it in their opinion. I love how it's called an opinion. But in their opinion, they were saying that you couldn't give a president this much power. They're terrified of what happens with a powerful president because they've always sat around with weak presidents. Let's see here. The budget is going to down. I believe Trump has backup plan and backup plan C. Indeed, he may have. You might see Lutnick, Greer, and Bassett out there with President Trump. Okay, here we go.
Wow.
Let me get my face out of here.
That's a new record. We set a record every time.
Whoever said that, you
well,
were right.
Thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. But you can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court, and it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement, I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it, but we still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that. They don't want to do the right thing. They're afraid of it. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security. And also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important, because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities, as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything, I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court, because I understand the court. I understand how they are very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy. I have very
told you.
effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained. Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said, you'll never be able, you'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years. We did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the book, and we're continuing to do so. Tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not, including India, Pakistan, big ones, nuclear, could have been nuclear. Prime Minister of Pakistan said yesterday at the great meeting that we had, the Peace Board, he said yesterday that President Trump could have saved 35 million lives by getting us to stop fighting. They were getting ready to do some bad things. But they've given us great national security, these tariffs have. And together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use them as a penalty against countries illegally sending this poison into our country to poison our youth. All of those tariffs remain. They all remain. I don't know if you know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. I guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again, those 3 people, such respect. I've had a lot of respect for them anyway, but such great respect. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected. We have alternatives, great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money, and we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1. I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the pennies anymore. We save money. Can't charge $1 to any country under IEEPA. Not $1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries, certainly not the United States of America, which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little two-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot charge them anything. Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that. It's incorrect. Their decision's incorrect. But it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision. You know, they've been approved by the decision for those that thought they had us. And they're saying that I have the absolute right to license, but not the right to charge a license fee. So think of that. I have the right to license, which is a very powerful word. In many ways, license is more powerful than tariffs. In fact, I was thinking about using it. But they came up with the idea that I can license, just like the people that were opposing me told them to do, but not the right to charge a license fee. Think of that. Who ever heard of such a thing? What license has ever been issued without the right to charge a fee? You get a license, you charge a fee. It's automatic, but not with this court. But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country, to destroy foreign countries, but a much more powerful right than many people ever thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee. How crazy is that? Our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And it was a dead country 1.5 years ago under an incompetent president. But now I'm going to go in a different direction, probably the direction that I should have gone the first time, but I read the language. I'm very good at reading language, and it read our way 100%, but now I'll go the way I could have gone originally, which is even stronger than our original choice. As Justice Kavanaugh, whose stock has gone so up, you have to see, I'm so proud of him, wrote in his dissent, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. So, think of that. The decision might not substantially constrain. And it doesn't. He's right. In fact, I can charge much more than I was charging. So I'm going to just start. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs issued in this case. Even more tariffs, actually. Those statutes include, think of that, those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. All of these things I know so well. The Trade Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, 301. And the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear. But it's a little bit longer process. I thought I'd make things simple, but they didn't let us do that. I would like to thank Justice Kavanaugh for frankly, his genius and his great ability. Very proud of that appointment. In actuality, while I am sure that they did not mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful and more crystal clear rather than less. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't. It's terrible. And to think that the Democrats who oppose this only because they want to go the opposite way, they'd like to pack the court. They want to put on 21 people. They want to pack the court, pack the Supreme Court. Maybe they should do it. Maybe they would be better off if they did it. They want to pack the court. They want to do anything to hurt our country. There will no longer be any doubt, and the income coming in and the protection of our companies and country will actually increase because of this decision. I don't think the court meant that, but it's the way it is. Based on long-standing law and hundreds of victories And even, as I was pointed out before, even thousands of victories over the years. To the contrary, the Supreme Court did not overrule tariffs. They merely overruled a particular use of IEEPA tariffs. And essentially, it's used to get a fee. I can do anything I want with IEEPA, anything. I just can't charge anybody for it. I can license, I just can't charge them. It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under IEEPA has been fully confirmed by this decision. So now there's no doubt, because, you know, there were a lot of questions about tariffs because no president was smart enough to use them to protect our country from those countries and businesses that were ripping us off. You took a look at the deficits that we had with some of these countries. It was disgraceful what they got away with for many, many decades. But now we know, because this decision affirms all those things that some people weren't sure about. In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariff authorities. So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I say quite simply, which I've said for a long time, make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us. If you have a few questions, you can let us know. But just to end, so we're going forward, we will be able to take in more money, and there'll no longer be doubt, because there was always doubt. I know the people that brought the lawsuit, and you know, they're sleazebags, major sleazebags, but I know them, and they're foreign country centric. They were sending things into our country, and the people representing them knew full well, but they were sending things into our country, and they were beneficial to other countries, but very, very bad for us. And I stopped it, and we'll just keep it going. So we have a totally firm decision now, and I don't think the court meant it, because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it. This is something we could have done, as Justice Kavanaugh said, we could have done this originally, but we're doing it now, and the numbers could be far greater than the hundreds of billions we've already taken in. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm very curious. You've spoken about
in the red.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Justice Thomas and Alito, as you know, are the most conservative constitutional justices. Do you think that you'll get to appoint 2 more justices later this term with similar ideologies? And what type of vetting process will they go through to ensure they uphold
I don't know, but they're great
Constitution?
justices. That's all I can say. And I hope they're going to be around a long time. I hope they're going to stay healthy. They're great people. They're great. And Justice Alito, too, to add to the group. These are great men.
Right.
With a great love of our country and a great understanding of the law.
Mr. President, are you going to ask Congress to take additional action on tariffs now?
No, I don't need to. It's already been approved. I mean, I would ask Congress and probably get it. When people look at the real numbers, and you look at hundreds of billions of dollars that have come into our country. Yesterday, I was at a steel plant, as you know, and I went to great great place, great plant, great, wonderful people. And they were telling me, I said to them, you were there, a lot of the press in this room. Of course, I don't think this plane's big enough to take the press in this room, but a lot of the press right here. We're in Georgia. And I said to the owner, I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man. But a very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel business for many years. His father started it. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week, and then you came in and imposed tariffs, and all of that foreign junk that they were dropping into our country stopped. And we're now going to double shifts, 7 days a week, and we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock, almost 7 days a week. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. And I said, no, thank you. But you know what? He just to finalize it, he said, oh, this is a great place in Georgia. He said, all up and down the highway, same exact answer, sir. We're all going out of business. We're going to go bankrupt. We're all going out of business. And now every one of us are thriving, and we're hiring people like we haven't. He said, like I've never, and he's been in business for, I think, 45 years, like we've never hired before. That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good. Those construction workers are building factories that are going to be open, including not only AI, which is big, but car plants coming in from Canada, who ripped us off for 30% of our market. Mexico ripped us off for a big portion. Over the years, they've taken our market. They've taken our cars. They manufacture them in Japan, Germany, and all over the place because nobody's standing in this position. The position I have as President of the United States had the insight, the courage, well, I don't know what it is, to charge tariffs. You can make your product outside. You can put our people out of business. You can put everybody on the unemployment rolls. But if you're going to make a car in some other country, you're going to pay a 15, 20, 30% tariff. And those things would have never happened. We wouldn't have lost our business. Same thing with, as an example, Taiwan. Taiwan came in. They stole our chip business. They make chips. For 30 years longer, they made chip. And they put our companies. Intel would be now the largest company. I saved Intel. I literally saved it at the beginning of this administration. And now all those companies in Taiwan are building factories in Arizona, Texas, and various other places because they don't want to pay tariffs. They're all pouring into the United States. But just like that great patriot said yesterday, sir, what you've done, nobody thought was possible. And Steve Moore, a highly respected economist, came into my office yesterday. He said, you've done something nobody's ever done. 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics said we would right now be in a recession. And you said, no, we're going to have a booming country. We're going to have a booming country. You were right. All 22 were wrong, and you were right. This country is booming, and it's booming because of the election on November 5th, and it's booming for another reason. It's booming because of tariffs. Yeah, please, go ahead.
What was said ahead of this decision that if the Supreme Court
ruled? Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say to foreign nations who seek to renegotiate their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. They have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution. That's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, you know, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, You have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, and Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now. They're all coming back at record levels. No, you please. I'm not talking to you. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, yesterday you made the case that the economy is the hottest it's been in a long time.
Right.
January jobs report beat expectations, CPI report beat expectation, real wages are up. What would you tell Americans who are worried that this decision will kind of throw the economy that you have projected going in the right direction at a very rapid pace off track?
Well, thank you for the question. And I will say this, we really are at a very important point. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago. Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision. But they should have released this a long time ago. We waited months. And that gave uncertainty. Now we have certainty. And I think you're going to see the country get much stronger because of it. Look, we were ripped off by almost every country in the world. If you look at the surpluses, almost every country in the world that did business with us, our people were stupid. And I blame presidents for it because they're ultimately the leader. We were being ripped off by almost every single country in the world, had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now, what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was 20 times more than they could make by selling fentanyl. And I said, at some point you're going to say, and they have reduced it. Fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country. Part of that is our strong border. We have a strong border now. But thank you. Thank you for your question.
Mr. President, sir, you warned once in a social media post that if the Supreme Court did this, shot down your tariffs, the U.S. would be, quote, financially defenseless. Are we financially defenseless right now?
No, because we're doing something in a different way. We're doing something in a very powerful way, and we're using things that some people thought we should have used in the first place. But it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated. The process takes a little more time, but the end result is going to get us more money, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, please. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion, and they don't even discuss that point. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. I said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years. Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those? What do you say to them? And do you view this as a potential undermining power for your
negotiations? We're going straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. That's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries. So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
Mr. President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You claim that they will pay for them. What happens
Well,
to
like
those
the
things?
farmers, we took care of farmers. You know, the farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We intend to, out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States. So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs. And we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly. And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam, just left my office. Great gentleman, strong and smart. He said, you know, I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us, with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So, to the President's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today, will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out, and we're going to keep continuity in the program. We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he doesn't even know? And I watched him the other day interview. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism
No, not bipartisan.
of the tariffs.
Excuse me.
There's several
A few
Republicans
people.
have said that.
Yeah,
But
a
why
few people.
wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to.
push tariffs
I have
through?
the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs. And it's all been approved by Congress, so there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process, not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people and the Congress
down the Canadian tariffs last week.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
been votes
you
in the
know why?
Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 215 votes.
You need 218 for something to pass.
Yeah, sure we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and we got. And what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left, because these people have been destroying. They are destroying our country. Please.
Mr. President, the 122 tariffs, that 10%,
Yeah.
is that going to be for 150 days, or do you want to charge that indefinitely?
We have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively. I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to look. The man I met with yesterday, who owned a factory, was out of business. He was out of business, and now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in. He's got a brand new crane. I said, "How old is that crane?" We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The Great Big Beautiful Act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great big beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said, it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down, other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said, every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week to make just a few little trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock. I had it a month ago. I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford, and we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this plant. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country. The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled with Trump. So whether we charge IEEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can lever. This is what happened to our country. This is why we owe $38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country, and we don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America strong again. We've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland, we were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit. And the prime minister called me up. She said, but we are a small country, because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing. That would have rendered them not very successful, as opposed to right now they're considered elite. But if we put a tariff, they would. And I realized then, she said, but sir, we are a small country. I said, you're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, a lot of these elite countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well. But I don't want them to do well on the backs of the American taxpayer. So I appreciate your question. I think it's a reasonable answer.
President Trump, you said that you were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision? What you felt when you...
I was surprised because I thought that what we did was, number one, according to... I mean, I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. I read everything there is to read, and I said, we can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C. maybe. I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation. But it's okay, because what has come out, and I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out, because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags, I know them well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in the first term. We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, we could do much better. We have people that get paid a lot of money to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things. But when you want them, they're too slow. And we put them on notice, and they're going to make, our country is building a lot of things right now, and our country is doing really well. And we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. Literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that. And the problem is that we had other presidents that weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, I respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so. But you're no longer going to be asked, every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically said we can do these. We have alternatives. Yeah.
David, on the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs,
Yeah.
do those stand now, or are they have to be
Well,
redone?
some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union
Yeah.
next week? And will you still speak with them?
They are invited. Barely. Barely. 3 are happily invited. No. They're barely invited. Honestly, I couldn't care less if they come, okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the trade deal, which is the framework which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now? And on the decision,
changes.
Nothing changes.
No, nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, and I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually, but he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
Are up as of now for this.
No, the India deal is on. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on. We're just going to do it a different way.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think there is another war that you stopped and you should take the credit, which is in Syria. Secretary Rubio, after his meeting in Munich with the Syrian Foreign Minister and the Kurdish General Muslim Abdi, he said that President Trump was directly involved in efforts to stop the fighting between the Kurds and the Syrians. How will your administration make sure that this peace is sustained? And do you support the idea
Well, it's a very different topic, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time. But all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there, is doing a phenomenal job. He's a rough guy. He's not a choir boy. A choir boy couldn't do it. But Syria is coming together, really coming together well. And thus far, he's been very good to the Kurds. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. President, what's your message to the Iranian people after 2 rounds of talks with them? Do you have any message to the Iranian people?
The Iranian people in Iran or people here?
People in Iran.
They better negotiate a fair deal. They better negotiate. You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time. They were going to hang 800, 2 weeks ago, hang, some by crane. They lift them up with a tall crane, and they play them around the square. They were going to hang 837 people. And I gave them the word, if you hang one person, even one person, that you're going to be hit right then and there. I wasn't waiting 2 weeks and negotiating. And they gave up the hanging. They didn't hang 837. Supposedly, they didn't hang anybody. But no, I feel very badly for the people of Iran. They've lived in hell. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe, and also those tariffs that has been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, your sanctions?
Well, I want Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, and they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today?
I am.
And do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible. Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families. You want to know the truth? The two of them. Yeah.
Specifically on that
Say it again,
$2,000
please.
tariff check.
Mr. President,
I didn't call you. I didn't
You
call
didn't call me?
Yeah, Mr. President, to be clear, do you believe at the end of implementing these new tariff tools, the tariff rate and tariffs will ultimately be higher than they currently are?
Potentially higher. How much higher? It depends, whatever we want them to be. But we want them to be fair for other countries. And, you know, we have some countries that have treated us really badly for years, and it's going to be high for them. And we have other countries that have been very good, and it's going to be very reasonable for them. Yeah.
Specifically on the tariffs question, I mean on the $2,000.
I didn't call you.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you have any plans to travel to India for the Quad Summit, and how do you think your relationship with India is right now?
I think my relationship with India is fantastic, and we're doing trade with India. India pulled out of Russia. You know, India was getting its oil from Russia, right? And they pull way back at my request because we want to settle that horrible war where 25,000 people are dying every month. And my relationship with Prime Minister Modi is, I would say, great. I also stopped a war between India and Pakistan, as you know. There were 10 planes we shot down. That war was going and probably going nuclear. And just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 35 million lives by getting them to stop. And I did it largely with tariffs. I said, look, you're going to fight, that's fine, but you're not going to do business with the United States, and you're going to pay a 200% tariff, each country. And they called up and they said, we have made peace. Okay? I just want to thank you all. Look, great certainty has been brought back to the economy of the United States and actually the economy of the world, because we generate so much in the world. We're the biggest in the world, and we're now the strongest by far. We were a country that was dead 1.5 years ago. Now we have the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Did you say 32,000 were killed in Iran, sir?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I can't take credit. No one sends me the liner notes. Nobody tells me what he's about to say. But if you follow President Trump, you can pretty much know what's happening. If you follow his past and his history of negotiations, you always come in with a deal that both people can basically at that point meet in the middle. And he gave them the good stuff first. And now he's coming in with the absolute hammer. And I love how he kept saying, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. You can't stop me. There's this thing called precedent. And there are literally, as Jameson said, thousands of cases where they can't touch him on what he's about to do. And in no uncertain terms, bam. So I saw some people in the chat were asking, can you summarize what he just did? I'm sure there are going to be a whole bunch of people summarizing. But in essence, what he said was, I gave you the easy medicine and you didn't like it. So now I'm going to give you the medicine you're really not going to like, but you have to take it. There's no other choice. Because now I'm going to do what I planned on doing all along. You stepped into it, you made a huge mistake. And if you want some real information, go read the dissenting decision by Judge Kavanaugh. It's like a 63-page decision. And it reads as an instruction manual on how to get around what the Supreme Court said. I think I have let me see if I have this tweet. Yeah, it's right here. It says, Kavanaugh's dissent is the roadmap for future tariffs, listing statutes from the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. In essence, the court today concluded that the president checked the wrong statutory box rather than another statute. And then Molly Hemingway basically said the same thing. Kavanaugh points out that even if today's mess of a ruling creates all sort of chaos, Trump has many more options for imposing tariffs going forward. You messed up. I mean, you literally messed with the bull, got the proverbial horns. Now you've pissed him off. The media, you've pissed them off. Rhinos, you've pissed them off. What's the likelihood of the SAVE Act being done at this point? People are going to try to use anything they can to leverage what he's about to do. He knew it was going to come to this. It was so funny when I had just literally played the 232 clip, and he walked on stage, and 232 it is. I don't think they understand this guy is ahead of them. Even Clarence Thomas says Congress authorized the president to regulate importation. Throughout American history, the authority to regulate importation has been understood to include the authority to impose duties on imports. The meaning of that phrase was beyond doubt by the time that Congress enacted this statute. President Nixon's highly publicized duties on imports were upheld based on identical language. So you understand what's happening. There already is, quote, identical language that the court had approved. It's Trump they want to stop. And I think you guys got a little bit of a taste of what's to come when he talked about the Supreme Court and their ties to China, and you're going to find out. That's chilling. He, in essence, said the Supreme Court is compromised, which is going to lay the groundwork for probably something else he's going to do. Now we're going to see the real Donald Trump. All the other stuff was set in the table. All these people, the panicans and black pillars, and how now you're going to see a man unleashed. They're not ready for it. The rhinos aren't ready for it. It's on now. It's game on. They knew this was going to happen. I want to play you something. This was something Scott Bessent said. I found this, and I'm like, man, they all knew.
But if you lose, what do you do? But the ultimate goal here, that the revenue, and I have been very consistent on this, that tariffs are a shrinking ice cube. The ultimate goal is to rebalance trade and to bring back domestic production. Okay, look, we can recreate the exact tariff structure with 301s, with 232s, with I think they're called 122. But not permanently. Permanently. You think well, the 122s aren't permanently, but the others, we can do it.
They knew it was coming. I keep telling you guys that there's breadcrumbs out there, and it's not until after things happen that people go out and find the breadcrumbs. They were telling you all along. Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, hey, we're going to do this if this doesn't happen. You can't do that. Oh, yeah, we can. Oh, well, if you do that, that's like nuclear. Oh, yeah. We could actually ban entire countries. We could say nothing comes in from China. I can't charge you, so you know what? We'll just ban everything from China. What do you think happens at that point? Mr. President, we'll still pay 15, 20, 30%. The power that he now has is he can just tell any country, I can't tariff you, but I could just tell you, none of your stuff is coming in. Contrary, they could say none of your stuff comes here. But you need American consumers more than American consumers need your stuff. You think of all these countries, Spain, France, all around the world. France, hey, we might not have your champagne, but we got champagne here, and you can't sell any more champagne or wine here. I think we'll be okay. This is the left's worst nightmare. They should have taken their just desserts just with the tariffs. Now you put him in a position where he can call these world leaders and say, and they'll be listening, and they will try to impeach him. If he tries to do some quid pro quo, he can just say, you're done. We're closing the doors. None of your stuff comes in here anymore. What do you mean? You're done. Imagine you're, Xi Jinping and President Trump. You now know President Trump, if he wants to, can say nothing from China comes in. What would you do if you were China, knowing that he could ban every single product down to, this little clip hook, that you put on like chips and stuff? Not that I eat chips, but I got like 2 of these little clippy things here. I'm sure these things came from China. I'm sure. I'm sure these little clothespin things come from China. Don't ask me why I have a clothespin sitting there. This is worse. This is the worst nightmare for the Democrats, worst nightmare for the rhinos, worst nightmare for the people who depend on China. You went there. Now guess what? And now the left's elatedness that they had for, since 10 o'clock just went for that. Because now they know. Now they know they've been checkmated. And they're going to scream, oh, Trump he can't do anything he wants. Watch him. Who's going to stop him? So I think that's what we're going to see coming out in the future. And I'm sure you'll see some news on X. I'm going to go ahead and pull down as much information as I possibly can. Let's see here. President Trump posted something on X. It was probably before, it was before the press conference. He said this: the Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing. I am ashamed of certain members of the court for not having the courage to do what is right. I would like to thank, as he did in the press conference, Alito, Thomas, and Kavanaugh for strength, wisdom, but they won't be. I love what he said. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic and dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. The Democrats are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no against anything that makes America strong and healthy again. They are also a disgrace to our nation. And he basically just goes through here and lambasts the court, and pretty much this could have been the script in his speech. He could have just read that. But it's coming. It's absolutely coming. I love the fact that he's finally taken off the gloves. He's gone bare knuckles. And all they can do is scream in the media. There's nothing left they can do. I think you guys realize it at this point. If you see here, get ready. The ICE protests are going to jump back to no kings, probably. Can the countries donate? That's really. Given the opportunity of you don't have to pay the tariffs, or you're banned completely. Yeah, donation might seem pretty good. He can cut trade. He can cut the trade completely, but no tariffs. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. That's what he said. So you're telling me I can go ahead and ban everybody. I just can't charge them. Okay. I can't wait for the stadium. Oh man, I can't wait either. I don't care if no Democrats show up or not, or whatever they do. Can't wait. Before I buy anything now, I opt for Made in USA. If I have to buy used, so be it. Good. Yeah, the phone you're texting on is made of Chinese parts. Exactly. They are completely dependent upon American consumers. Mess with the bull, you get the horns. Exactly. They're not dancing now. You're absolutely right. Whose head is first to explode? I can't wait. I'm going to close this down, and then we're going to go ahead and schedule like a show for like 5 or 6, and then I'll be on with I'll bring. I can't even imagine what's going to be. I'm going to have available for you. It's going to be funny. I've got to go with a limited after party, probably for like 15 minutes, because the guys are coming. Actually, he called me while Trump was talking, saying I'll be there very soon, so that they can work on whatever it is that has been wrong with my it's not internet, it's the data data usage and stuff like that, because you wouldn't even believe how much data you push in a 2 or 3 hour show. All right, so let me do super chats and then get out of here. Whew, what a day! I can't even imagine what the news will be like tonight. All right. Now it's time to play the left like the left wants to play. Jail all these fraudsters and ignore SCOTUS like Biden did. Thanks, Ben Benedetto. Jeff, the Democrats are planning on opening up the border again. They are trying to destroy this country. And they're going to throw all of us in jail. They're actually saying that. I mean, they're actually saying that. Nicholas Pence worked against President Trump in this. He sure did. And your comment, James, says it all. Nothing changes. Nope. Notice he said that. And the president's like, you got to give back the money now, right? No. I bet you'll be hard pressed to find a country saying give back the money. See, the country, let me just say this. The country that says give back the money will be the country who gets banned. That's it. Hey, we want our money back. Okay, you're done. What do you mean? We're going to give you your money back, and then you're done putting your goods into America. Oh, never mind. You imagine that conversation? I want to know who the first country that will try and get their money back. But see, that's not what I'm worried about. What I'm concerned with and how they're going to handle it are companies here who try to sue and say that the money that they've had to, pay more or whatever they've had to absorb for international goods that they've brought in, they're going to want to sue to get their money back. Be very, very, very careful. I would not be the one who wants to mess with the bull. That would be. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine? It'll happen. I'm telling you right now. Count on it. There will be a company, 2, 10, 20, who knows how many of them, that will be, egged on by the Democrats to go ahead and sue the government to get the money back that they had to pay extra to import goods. Count on it. But like Trump said, see you in 5 years. I won't even be here. Goodbye. In the meantime, keep hammering them. This is gonna. By the way, this ain't over. There's more coming. I can't wait till Tuesday night. All right, I got to do a short after party because the guys are coming. I'll see you tonight.